Mr. Satre, thank you so much for coming today. I just had a couple questions about, we had a question about some of the services that are out there for people who suffer from gaming addiction, but how does that get paid for? And also, I think another question and another concern, and one of the reasons why it took so long to get casinos in the state of Ohio, particularly one of the arguments here in Cleveland, was that it would attract a certain clientele, quite honestly, that people were concerned about. And so is that a valid concern? And if so, is that part of the addiction problem? And how does that get addressed?
Thank you, Carrie. Those are both good questions. Let me first address how you fund all of this. And I regret I didn't mention it because the state of Ohio actually has the most robust funding program of any state that I've seen yet. When you look at the way the tax revenues that are generated by this industry are allocated, 2% of those tax revenues are directed to fund treatment for gambling and substance addictions. So the bulk of your gambling taxes go to county governments and to fund school districts, and that's significant. I mean, I think that's 85% of your revenues go into those two buckets. But you've done the biggest allocation out of that tax revenues of any state to fund substance abuse and to fund gambling problems. And that's going to be about $13 million a year. There's no other state that approaches that right now. So I think you're going to have the resources to address these issues based upon that allocation. And I commend your legislators and who designed the statute for that. In terms of the clientele, a lot of research on that has been done by the American Gaming Association, and it's who gambles in a casino today. And I would tell you that 40 years ago, the answer was very, very different. I had just moved to Nevada about that time, and when you went into a casino in Nevada in those days, the food was awful. The hotel rooms were not very nice at all. There was a little bit of entertainment, but most of the people inside those casinos were not very attractive. And what's changed in the industry in the last 40 years is that it's become, Las Vegas in particular, a mecca for some of the best restaurateurs in the United States. There's more five-star, five-diamond hotels in Las Vegas now than I think any other city in the United States, save and except New York City. So you've got this incredible growth in this industry, whether it's retail, entertainment, food and beverage, and rooms, and that's changed the clientele. And the research at the American Gaming Association shows that this sounds a little bit presumptuous, but it's the casino patron is now the better than average American, meaning by that their average income is higher than the average American. Their education is higher than the average American. Even their religious practices are more active than the average American. So it's been a very interesting change in who's inside that casino. I think you're going to find inside the casinos here in Cleveland people who are from the regional area and the local area, but you're going to have tourists who come into town, particularly if you have a compelling design to that casino, and you include things like first-class hotel rooms, great entertainment venues, retail, and the other experience that people expect, it'll become an attraction. And I think there's a lot of reason to do that. I know that Dan Gilbert is committed to that, and I think that Penn Gaming probably is, and some of the other venues that they have. And that will bring in a higher quality clientele, a clientele that's changing across the industry. And I'll give you the other statistic that tells this story. When I started in the industry in 1980, 80 to 90% of the revenues of our company were derived from either a slot machine or a table game. Today, at our company and other companies, non-gaming sources outpace gaming sources. So slot machines and table games are less than 50% of the revenues at gaming companies today. The customer that's going to casinos today is looking for an entertainment and vacation experience. They want that hotel room, they want that great meal, they want to see a fantastic show, they want to have a retail experience. And so what's happened is it's shifted to mainstream America, and it's shifted to a customer who wants a very broad entertainment experience, and that's changed the clientele. And I think that's good for Cleveland and the other casinos here in Ohio.
Do you have any statistics for a typical casino as to what percentage of their revenue are from the various types of gaming and or food and so on and so forth, other services that they provide?
Well, some of those statistics are what I just said. So the more modern, newer built casinos that are in Las Vegas right now and in Atlantic City, if you looked at their revenue stream, and let's take the example of one of the most recent to open in Las Vegas. Anybody been to Encore in Las Vegas? So Las Vegas is a city that has spawned, obviously, a lot of new casinos. A fellow named Steve Wynn, who is a wonderful designer and builder and operator of casinos, built Encore about 2 years ago. Encore has about 2,500 hotel rooms, probably has 6 or 7 bars, and 15 restaurants plus retail, 2 big showrooms. If you looked at that, and then a big casino floor full of slot machines and table games. If you looked at his revenues today, about 40% of his revenues, maybe even a little less, the last time I looked, I can't remember, are derived from the slot machines and the table games. So the other 60% is allocated between all of those other things. Hotel room is the biggest single other element of those revenues. So of the 60%, it's probably half of that, because hotel rooms, at least before the Great Recession, commanded a very healthy price in Las Vegas. You can get a pretty good deal right now. But still, I think that it's probably around 30% of total revenues for Steve Wynn's properties. And then the other is a mixture of his entertainment venues, his retail venues, and his restaurant and beverage venues.
Today at the City Club, we've been listening to a Friday Forum featuring Philip Satre, Chairman of the Board for International Game Technology. Thank you, Mr. Satre. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This program is now adjourned.
For information on upcoming speakers or for podcasts of the City Club, go to cityclub.org.